Okay, this is a organic growth overview of residential property investment in Johannesburg, Gauteng area. I'm Neil Foster, and with me is Warren Horrick. We the main people behind organic growth. So I'm going to zoom in here on a Google Earth image, zooming into Johannesburg, Gauteng area. First thing I want to do is just locate you. Pretoria in the north, Johannesburg, here's Midrand, Fourways, Sandton, Randburg are here, Soweto is here, we have Tembisa, which is in this area here, and this is what's known as the East Rand, Boksburg Springs area, and we have Soweto and the West Rand here, and the mines are all located along here and heading westwards, which is what is the original growth of Johannesburg, but it's now become the commercial heart of South Africa, particularly Sandton. Okay, as we zoom in a bit closer, I'll show you the nodes. There's Johannesburg CBD, Sandton CBD is here, Randburg is here, Fourways, which is started off as a retail residential node, has become very much a commercial node now, a lot of office there. Midrand, which is industrial high-tech along this area here, residential here, and the office portion is over here. And this section here, this that you see is currently undeveloped, is busy developing now, and it will be a new city effectively called Waterfall, which will be a new node. That the development is very late here, but that had other political reasons. I just want to say something about business nodes, because we're talking about how residential property grows. If you look at these we've got dollar signs in here at Fourways, Midrand, Randburg, Sandton and Johannesburg. These are you need to see these as centers of gravity. This is where the work is. This is where people who are newly out of school and university end up working and earning their living. So they want to live close to where they work, and it's not surprising that if you look at these nodes, people want to live near to where they work, and because they all want to work there, it becomes very much an aspirational area to live in. If you look at this, for example, here's Johannesburg, that dollar sign is Sandton and that dollar sign is Randburg. About 30 years ago, these three were completely separate, but they have now joined, and it's hardly surprising that Hyde Park, which is probably the highest priced residential property in the country, apart from maybe the movie set down in Cape Town, is between these nodes here. And the old money sits here. The Oppenheimers have probably got a house there. At the moment you have Fourways and Midrand as the newly developed areas and developing areas, so you're going to I expect residential growth to be very high in these areas here, very high along here. This is where it's all happening. Just to focus on these areas, therefore, we have Sandton here. There's a lot of banking, stock exchanges here. Randburg is a bit second grade in terms of office use, but the call centers are all here, so it becomes a major source of work.
Okay.
Workers come here. We have Randburg CBD, known as Randburg Industrial, known as Stratham Park here, and Kaya Sands there. So these areas also great sources of work. Fourways, all the offices around here. Midrand Industrial up here. This is a major industrial node developing here. You can see the earthworks are busy happening. This picture is probably, how old is it? About a year old, but I know there's major development happening here, and you can see the roadworks coming in here for Waterfall CBD. This is a Waterfall estate over here, very upmarket. The development has happened. We are looking at. Our philosophy is as an investor, is to buy the smallest unit in the best area. That's where you see the best growth as an investor.
Exactly.
So with these being aspirational areas, you have these yuppies coming out of the Sowetos, coming out of the suburbs of the east and the west, and here, they all want to live in these areas. They want, what happens is they get their education, they get their first job. First thing they want is to wear nice clothes. The next thing is to drive a nice car. And the third thing, they want to be able to sit down at the news cafe on a Friday evening and say, I live in Sandton, I live in Bryanston, I live in Fourways. So they want to live in these aspirational areas, and they can't really afford to own. They don't always come from a culture of ownership, so they rent. Because for them, they would rather live in an area than say I own in an area. That's the secondary thing. So they move there first. So this is our source of tenants. And this source of tenants has been, for the last 20 years, it's just come in one big, it's like a tsunami. Sure. It hasn't abated. Black economic empowerment has contributed to this greatly, because you have people who've been living in the Sowetos and the Tembisas, and Alex, where's Alex? It's here somewhere. These areas are now getting educated, they are getting good jobs. Yes. And their jobs are in these areas, so they want to live there. And typically, a graduate's earning 10, 12, 15,000 rand.
Sure. Okay.
A new graduate, and they hook up with a spouse or a partner, and the little household is earning 30,000 rand a month, and they can buy themselves each a nice car, 5,000-6,000 rand a month, and then they spend the same again on rental, and spend the rest on clothes and living.
Sure. Okay.
But there's not really enough money for them to be buying yet.
So would you say there's like an oversupply of tenants, or?
Yes, there's a massive oversupply of tenants.
Okay, that's important.
We are finding that of these smaller units in these areas, they don't stand vacant.
Okay.
If there's a vacancy, it's because something funny happened and the tenant fell through at the last second, and so then you end up with a 1 month vacancy.
Okay. Because I mean, you've got like what, 10 years or more experience in your own personal investment.
I've been investing in these areas for about 13 years now. 14 years.
14 years. Okay.
And very, very rarely do we have vacancies.
Okay.
That last more than 1 month.
Sure. Okay.
And as an investor, that's actually not a bad thing, because you use that month to get in there and repaint the place, do what has to be done, use it as a maintenance time.
Yeah.
It's not very frequent at all, because of the demand. What more do I want to say? I want to focus in on the areas that I think are really ripe.
Okay.
And that is, for the first time investor, if you come and buy in the Fourways or in the Bryanston areas, Lone Hill, you find that your initial returns are quite low, so your barrier to entry as an investor is difficult, because your rental income is not going to cover your bond, because the prices are already elevated. This area has been growing for a while.
Okay.
So your prices are high, the rentals haven't caught up, and but as a second generation investor, they're good places, because you get good capital growth.
Okay.
But typically, if you had to buy a little unit here in these areas, you're going to spend 700,000-800,000 rand, and you're going to have a shortfall on your bond of about 2, maybe even 3,000 rand a month.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Which is a bit difficult if it's your first unit. It'll slow your initial growth.
Yeah.
But if you come along here, where's Randburg? Here's Stratham Park. Here's Molibongwe. The Dome is over there. There's Northgate Shopping Centre. This area here.
Okay.
You can see locationally, you go along Witkoppen and you're in Fourways. You're near the Kaya Sands.
Where's the Dome again?
The Dome is there.
Okay.
And the Dome is there. There's Northgate Shopping Centre.
Okay, the Northgate. Okay.
And the highways. Here's the main highways that go. This one that goes all the way around Johannesburg, the old concrete highway. And then here you have the Krugersdorp. It's known as the Krugersdorp Highway. It links Krugersdorp to Pretoria.
Okay.
Up here.
All right.
So the areas that we focus on are typically just west of Fourways.
Mm-hmm.
This area here.
Okay.
And very good bus routes, taxi routes, getting people into Fourways, all the way into Johannesburg CBD, into Randburg, and into Sandton.
Sure.
You can see the pathways. The taxis and buses run along these main arterials. And coming to these areas here, I'm going to zoom in on one complex to give you an example and tell you tell you a little bit about our philosophy of how we invest. One of the first townhouses I ever bought, in fact, it's a townhouse that I used on the organic growth case study, is in a complex called Los Alamos, which is there under my cursor. Now, if you look at where this is located, on a macro level, it's right in the zone we want to be. As we zoom in a bit closer, now think of the actual tenant. We want to attract a tenant. So the first thing about attracting a tenant is the agent needs to be able to describe to the tenant where it is. Very important. So you've got nearby landmarks. You say to anybody in Johannesburg, it's near the Dome.
Everyone knows.
They've got you.
That's it.
All right. This off-ramp, which is Malibongwe off road, you come off the highway here. Most people in Johannesburg will know that off-ramp. They'll also know Witkoppen Road, which is Witkoppen Road, linking 4 ways. There, here's the highway, here's Malibongwe. So it's very, very easy to locate. When you consider the actual tenant, again, which is what we're doing here, the guy's going to live in there and pay your bond off for you. He or she will typically be a couple or a single person with one vehicle or maybe no vehicle initially, especially the entry levels units. These units, the rentals are going to be about 5,000 Rand a month, and you quite often will find a situation where your tenants don't have a vehicle.
Sure. Okay.
So they're reliant on taxis. The taxis use Olivenhout Avenue and Malibongwe Avenue. There's two small shopping centres here, convenience centres. You'll find the Nando's and the like here, fast food places here.
Okay.
This is Northgate Shopping Centre, so they can do all their shopping. They can live here without a vehicle.
All right. Okay.
There's very few places in South Africa where you can live without a vehicle.
Sure.
So you've got your shopping centre here, the Dome. Everyone wants to live near the Dome. It's very exciting. Taxis are here. Shopping is nearby. Banks are all here, and they can get to their place of work. Very desirable place. So what you find here is in these units, the rentals are extraordinarily high. Because it's primarily tenants, the prices aren't high.
Okay.
They're smaller units, so your more mature investors, they move away from these smaller units because they see them as a hassle. They'd rather your more mature investor would rather get one rental check of 10,000 Rand rather than 2 or 5,000. I'd rather get 2 or 5,000.
What are the returns like compared to the bigger places?
Well, the returns are higher. I don't want to talk percentages because that goes against our philosophy because we don't really work on the percentages. I'd rather work on what you can practically feel. If you took a 90% bond on the property that you bought here, the rental would pretty much cover your bond repayment.
Okay, well that's it.
That's what you're going to feel. That's what you're going to experience.
You want to get that ratio as close or even overlap.
Yes, you'd like to
between your bond and your rental.
Yeah, you want to close that gap because you're going to have the more you can buy with almost zero money. If you buy your first unit in let's say in Sandton, we come up to Paul's off here, and we go. You buy your first unit here, and you spend R1 million on your unit, and your rental income after your levies is only 5,000 Rand.
Yes.
You're going to have a shortfall, maybe 3,000 or 4,000 Rand on your bond.
Yeah, no, that's
and so you're going to sit servicing this bond for a year, and the following year it's going to come down by a couple of hundred Rand. By year 4 or 5 only is your rental servicing your bond. You're going to get good capital growth.
Okay.
But in all these 5 years, you've only had one property growing, and it's feeling like this burden, and you have these sleepless nights. Is my tenant going to pay the rent and whatever? Whereas if you go, make your investments a bit more manageable.
Yeah.
500,000 Rand unit, 600,000 Rand units. Yeah. Where if you lose a tenant, you're losing an income of 5,000 Rand a month. Yeah. For that time, you're not losing a big 12,000 Rand tenant.
If I can make a comment here, if you can just zoom in again on that.
On Los Alamos. This complex is called Los Alamos.
When I look at that, it reminds me of Monopoly.
Yes, this is Monopoly.
The whole thing with Monopoly. I don't know if you guys have read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Then he refers to the whole thing of Monopoly. But if you just look at those, you buy a few, maybe 4, and then you get a hotel. Or you get a big investment later on, like a more mature investor, like Neil is talking about. But I just want to make a point.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. You can start big and it might work for you, but this is the low risk.
Okay.
And we're about going low risk, high return, high capital growth that you're going to get in this area. Those are the three things to look at. So just to recap, I'm going to zoom back out again so you can see where we are. So we're choosing this area now as an area of focus and have chosen it. I personally own my whole portfolio is in this area.
Okay.
I own one or two down here.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to brag, but I live here near the old money. Although I'm not old money. But you see that what I'm saying is this is aspirational. I like to live here where the trees are tall and mature and green, and it's almost like a park. If you zoom in close to these areas, it looks like a forest. You don't see the roofs, you see trees. Whereas you go into the newer areas, you're going to see roofs. And that's how the areas grow, mature. You look at Bryanston, you just see trees.
Green belt.
Just like one big green belt. So again, zooming out, we have Fourways, Midrand, Randburg, CBD. This is our primary area. My company Targa Realty, we operate predominantly in this area. We focus on townhouses. We manage a portfolio of about 90 townhouses that are in this area directly. And zooming out again, there's Pretoria East. This is also a great area to invest. I'm not going to give you all the reasons in this short video, but Pretoria East is a great area. If my office was there, I'd probably be talking about that area, but we are here. We're very hands-on in this area. Johannesburg, and the southern areas here, Meyersdal, it's also fairly good from a rental growth point of view. The eastern side of Johannesburg here, it's also fairly good. We've got Van Buren. You'll find that where's Van Buren Road here. You'll have a very upmarket residential area, which is Bedford View. That's Bedford View, and around Bedford View, but there's very limited place to develop here. But up here, we'll see lots more development of smaller townhouses, very desirable area to live in, and we'll expand out to those areas. But for now, today, we're just talking about this little area here, and it's a cherry as far as I'm concerned in terms of the small investor.
Sure.
And that's us. That's it from the organic growth team.
Yeah, just hope this helps you. And if you've got any questions or anything like it, just drop us a call or email. I'm sure
go to our website.
Go to our website, have a look there. Okay, man. Thanks.